Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Colorado Rockies. My name is Alex Murray, also known as AZ Axel, and we are into the middle part of the 2027 season. We're just going to start calling these episode numbers because it's so much easier to remember. So, episode 7 of the Colorado Rockies was the last one that you hopefully just watched. This one is going to be episode 8, middle of the 2027 season. And as you can see, we are in first place. It has been a great season. It has been an up and down season, and we'll have a lot of talk about here in just a second. Um, there's been a whole bunch of injury problems, but we've come through the injury stages. We're on top still by half a game over Arizona, but I will happily take that. We're technically 5 games over the Dodgers and the Giants, and they're just over 500. We are sitting very pretty, and we are technically, I think we're technically like 3 games ahead of the second wild card. So we're looking really good. And a lot of things have been finally tweaked to fit the team's best format. We are fourth in runs scored and second in runs against, as you can see in our team stat rankings down in the bottom right hand corner. But then also some things to note about our team hitting. We are number 1 in stolen bases. We are first in batting average. We're second in batting WAR. We're tied for 6th in home runs, which has been a huge help from Charlie Condon having 26 home runs right now. We'll talk about him in just a second. But then our pitching has been really good. Our defensive efficiency is 3rd in the National League. Our zone rating is 4th. Our errors are a little bit higher in 8th position. But pitching WAR is 3rd. We have the 3rd best bullpen, the 6th best starting pitching rotation, and that has resulted in a first place position for your Colorado Rockies going into the middle point of the 2027 season. And we literally just finished the first year player draft for 2027. So let's start there and talk about who we got. All right, this is our first round draft pick for the 2027 season. This is Juan Fain. I believe it's how it's pronounced. His nickname is Ben. This is an Israeli American out of, I believe, Oregon. Went to the University of Maryland. He's a 2-year college player, and that was actually one of the main reasons why we got him versus somebody else, was that we looked at his information, we looked at his development already. He is going to pair very nicely with Kunkel. If you remember, we have the number 2 overall prospect in baseball. That is Larry Kunkel, I believe. And he is expected to be pretty much almost near the same development level as Fiend at this point. And I'm very excited to see if maybe we can get both of them to come up to the majors at the same time. Just depends on kind of how quickly we develop Juan here at this point. He's 21 years of age, so he's a little bit older than Kunkel is at this point, but he's got a lot of the same features we liked out of Kunkel, and he's already somewhat developed in most of those areas. So unlike other starting pitchers like well, of course, we have our big names, of course, Cancel and Dominguez. Outside of those two being very, very young and very undeveloped, Juan gave us an opportunity to get somebody who was somewhat developed as a first-year player draft pick, and that was what we kind of looked for, and we liked that. So even though we kind of picked someone who was a little bit lower on the potential ratings, we still had people like Popke, who went right behind us to the who was that to now again? That was to the San Francisco Giants. And then of course, Lance Simmons went to the St. Louis Cardinals. Simmons might be the one person that I'm gonna be kicking myself for not getting. There's so much undeveloped stuff with some of these players, and they're all high schoolers. And I saw Fiend is just a really good option for us to pick up that's an already semi decently developed starting pitcher from a list of otherwise just really raw starting pitcher talent. So we picked up Fiend in our first pick of the 2027 draft. It was a great option for us. I'm very happy to have gotten him. And that is definitely going to be a good option for us down the road. Hopefully, he develops into everything we're looking for him to develop. Our second round pickup was a 2-year high schooler pickup. This is Dave Yearwood, really good catching prospect. But here we thought he might be a really good pairing in case we don't want to keep Romo down the road. This would be somebody that I'd be very happy to see if I can develop and get into a really good spot here. Good enough on the catching side for defense, really good on the power and some decent contact and eye to go along with it. So a 2-year high schooler. So he was a high school senior going into his, I think he was either a high school senior or he was a high school senior going into the draft with a second year of high school, the recorded high school at this point. He was hard to sign, but we got him. He had good competitive level, so I'm very happy about him. And personality seems to be a positive, so we're happy about Dave. We think he'll be pretty good. Chris Hunt was our number three, our third round pickup at this point. He was more of a DH slash outfielder pickup. We're gonna see if we can train him into playing left field, maybe down the road. But we loved the bat. The bat was just too good to pass up in the third round. We really thought the power and the avoid K combination was really, really good. And I'm personally a believer that you can train defense in 25 or OOTP 25. I think it's actually possible to be able to do that. So we picked up Chris Hunt here in the third round. And then in the fourth round, we somehow didn't see John Estep in the system. He's only 3.5 star for a prospect. It's kind of weird comparing him to Hunt, but I guess power just does it that much more in OOTP 25. But Estep has a little bit more defense, might be a better right fielder or even a center fielder if he develops a little bit more. Really good bat. Another person who had 2 years of high school, so he's a high school senior, was going to go to Arizona State University, but instead will come over here to Colorado to play with us. He was actually a pretty easy to sign person. We actually didn't give too much money away for our signing bonuses this year. I think if I go back to our negotiation screen, yeah, we ended up doing about, oh boy, I think we're up to around 9 or 10 million. And we actually budgeted for about 20. So we did about half of what we were expecting to pay. So Fane came in at about only 6.5. And then, of course, Yearwood was about a mil and a half, almost 2 mil bet technically. Chris Hunt was a $1.5 million player, but then John Estep was only $75,000 to get him to come play with us. So really good. Really good draft for us this year. I'm not entirely sure if it was high quality or if it was just really cheaper than previous drafts, or maybe we're just drafting in a better spot. Josh Edwards was our number 5 pickup of the season, our fifth round selection here. Really good overall. Again, you can see my logic is the really average but pretty decent batting profile where there's no weaknesses. Same thing for the defense. He could probably be converted to a second baseman if we had to. But I really love just the really good clutch bat in all the different areas. This was a high school senior as well, was committed to Wichita State. We pick him up in the 5th round instead. Tim Barfoot was our sixth round pickup. He is another outfielder selection. We did a lot more batters this time around. We've been doing a lot more pitching in our previous drafts, and this time we finally focused down on the batters, and we took a couple of really good college picks. This is another one right here. Tim Barfoot will be trying to play probably left or right field. Probably will be going to right field as he gets older. But 21-year-old, a little bit undeveloped for a 21-year-old in my opinion, but we'll see how it goes. He may not develop that well, but we'll see. This is an interesting profile. I think if he can get a little more power or a little bit more contact, he's a pretty good outfielder and would actually play on a major league level. Our 7th round selection was Dan Reaney, and this is going to be a really good, interesting pickup right here. He's got some really good Gold Glove caliber defense. Can play second, third, or short with those defensive caliber abilities. And at 17 years of age, this is a 2-year high schooler, so a high school senior. He was going to go to East Mississippi Community College for JUCO, but he will be picked up here in the 7th round. We've already given him an offer. He should play for us starting pretty soon here, and this is a pretty good bat quality as well. This bat is actually not that bad, so I'm really interested to see how Dan does in the as he moves forward with his progression and progress. But we'll see about that. Round 8, we found someone similar to Dan. We found Jared York. This is another second base, third base, shortstop prospect who's got some really good defense. This is a 2-year high schooler, so he was a high school senior, was committed to St. Augustine's University, but we went ahead and got him in the 8th round. He's got a little bit less of a bat, I want to say, a little bit more power, but less in the gap power. Not quite so good in the speed category, so we'll have to see. Maybe third base is better for Jared here, but if that bat can get some development and that defense maxes out at the 85 ability for third base, I would be very, very happy about that. So we picked up a couple of utility infielders basically in the 7th and 8th rounds. We kind of needed that because we're kind of low on second base and third basemen. So we focused on that, found a couple of good catchers as well, and we really liked our draft at this point. Josh McPherson was the next person picked up, another catcher. This was how good our draft was. This looks like a great pickup for a 9th round selection right here. This is a really good defensive catcher with a really good balanced bat approach. We'll see if that power develops. He is a high school senior, was going to go to the University of Minnesota, but we pick him up here in the 9th round instead. 10th round ended up going to Jason Adams, another catcher prospect. I know you're going to be saying, what happened to the pitchers? We have so many good pitchers right now. We are doing okay on pitchers. We're good to go on those. We need the batters now. So picked up another catcher here in Adams. A decent, less quality bat here in the 10th round compared to McPherson, who we got in the 9th round, but the defense is still pretty good. And if we can get a little bit of developments out of this kid, this could be a pretty good signing for us as well. Eddie Pellin was our 11th round selection, another outfielder option for us, corner outfielder at this point. Really good contact ability, so we're hopeful that that can develop all the way to potential. That would be a really good one for us right about there. And then Stuart Shavaria, sorry, is going to be another infielder option for us. Probably second base is going to be his best option, but a decent enough bat. And again, we're getting into the 12th round of a 20-round draft. At this point, the quality is going to get less and less and less, and it's just more about finding out, okay, maybe there's a couple of, gems in their ratings, and they're pretty good. This is a 2-year college player, so he's actually more developed than most people would be to an extent. And we'll see what we can do about him down the road and what we can maybe bring out of him. George Brown, a high school prospect, second base, third base, a little bit more undeveloped, but a little bit higher potential at this point. We're going to hopefully be able to develop him a little bit more. And his defense is pretty good. So this is somebody who could probably play second base and do a really good job at that. 14th round got us to Tim Snyder. We're going to try playing him in left field. He was originally supposed to be a starting pitcher, I believe, and we actually saw the hitting profile. We thought it might be a bit better to put him in the outfield versus putting him on the mound. So we're going to try to convert him to a left fielder and see if he can develop a little bit of that bat. Otherwise, we might give him a shot on the mound, but the mound stuff was just not looking very good. Phil Peterson was another person we drafted. This is the 15th round selection. Really good power. We thought that might be pretty good. Might be a decent enough first baseman or third baseman if we can get a little more defense into him. Wouldn't be too bad. But this is a long shot for us. This is definitely a long shot right here. But the power was pretty good, and we wanted the power. We wanted to see if we can make that develop. If we can develop a little bit of a void K, that's actually not that bad. If we can get a little bit of that avoid K up there at this point, that would actually be acceptable. Michael Torres, another person who might be a two-way player, but we are expecting him to be an outfielder moving into into his first season in the minors. He was a college junior, I believe, for the University of Miami, and was doing pretty good for University of Miami. Not the greatest. He has got a lot of speed, but we'll be trying him out, see if he can develop a little bit. Hopefully that contact develops, and that's kind of what we're looking for from him. Mike Letter was another catching prospect. We kind of went back to the catchers at this point for the 17th round. Good enough bat and pretty good defense. 18th round went to Chris Daniels. This was another outfielder prospect for us. The bat's a little bit better than some of the other picks we've picked up at this point, but the defense is a little bit shy, and the speed's a little bit lower, and it's a high schooler. So a little bit less to be able to expect out of Chris Daniels, but a little bit more potentially down the road to be able to acquire. So we'll see how that goes. Paul Bayless was our second to last pickup here. Our interesting pickup here though as well, because he was going to go. No, you're right. He was from the ASU, Arizona State University, 2 years out of ASU, and was actually doing okay, I believe, as their probably main starting catcher at this point. He's got an okay-ish bat, but the defense is where he shines. We'll have to see if he can develop a little bit of this bat as he goes forwards, but otherwise he is kind of mostly developed, so he may end up jumping to AAA this year, and then he might end up just staying in AAA until he's done playing baseball. It might be just that kind of a career for Paul, unfortunately. Our last pickup was Tanho Allison. This is a mostly developed, I believe, relief pitcher option for us. We're going to see if he can maybe get a little bit more speed. He's 20 years of age, only 5'10", though, unfortunately, so we'll have to see about that, but we'll see if we can get him to be a little bit of a bullpen arm, if we can maybe develop a little bit more of the movement and the control, and then maybe increase some speed, get those pitches up. He could develop into something down the road. Otherwise, he's kind of mostly developed at this point, and I just don't see much happening, unfortunately, for him. He was a college junior out of the University of Oregon, so he's an Oregon Duck, and we're happy to be able to at least have him in our final pickup of the 2027 first-year player draft. All right, so let's recap the season as is so far. So we've had an interesting season, as you can see from the bar graph in the middle of the screen, the division graph. We've been in first place for about, I'd say, 2 to 3 months at this point. We had a rocky start in the Rockies, and that was mostly because of the injuries. There was a time where we had I think it was 4 of our 5 starting pitchers injured. We had Bieber down right before the beginning of the regular season, and then after the shortly after opening day, Sonny Gray tore his flexor tendon in his elbow. He's out for the entire season. We're not going to have Sonny Gray. So unfortunately, the thumbnail from episode 7 about the new era with Sonny Gray and Shane Bieber is not to be for at least 2027. And it's sad. It's really sad. This team could be so much better if we had both Sonny Gray and Shane Bieber at the top of our rotation. But unfortunately, we only have one right now. Chase Hampton also went down with an elbow inflammation issue. He's about to come back at this point, but he's been out from basically most of the regular season. He had 4 starts at the beginning of the season before he went down. And then, of course, we're still waiting for Aaron Civale to come back from his shoulder inflammation. He's got another 2 months before he's back. He's yet to pitch in 2027 as well. So, as you can see, it has been an interesting season. We're still also waiting for Carlos Rodriguez, my apologies, to come back from his injury. He's currently rehabbing right now down in AAA. He just got his first relief appearance down there for the regular season. We are expecting him to join the Major League squad as probably a bullpen arm. Alameo, who's it going to be that comes down for him again now? It's going to be Alameo Hernandez probably taking a demotion down AAA. He's been doing okay, but he's just also not really the best pitcher we have in our bullpen right now, and it kind of does show he's had some pretty rough outings as of lately. But otherwise, it's been a great season. It really has. We've had some really good results from people like Ian Anderson. He's had another great season for us so far. Hopefully, we're not burning him out too much. He's on pace for a 3.5 WAR season right now. He looks pretty good. Dollinger's been actually doing pretty respectively, 17 starts and a 3.92 ERA. He's heading towards almost a 3 WAR season as well. He can't go very far into games, but the bullpen has been phenomenal, picking up where he kind of just can't keep going. Francis has been having a decent enough season. I mean, they're eating innings, and that's all we're asking for from them. And Giolito, as we talked about in the last episode about how he might be trying to compete for a rotation spot, the minute that we had multiple injuries, Giolito has basically stepped up and been our number 5 starting pitcher, and he is actually having a fairly decent season. He's going to be on pace for a 3 WAR season, so all of our starting rotation having really good seasons. The bullpen has been solid. Jose Leclerc's having a great season, as is Gabriel Hughes, and this is a big one for us. Gabriel Hughes was one of our biggest prospects in the minor league systems. He was in Single A last year, started in Triple A, and basically we just realized he just needs to be pitching for us at this point. He's a borderline starter, so he's not going to be in the rotation, but he has been able to prove himself so nicely in 15 relief appearances so far this regular season. He's been lights out. He's been striking people out. He's been committing less walks than he usually does, and we are so happy to have him on the team right now. So huge shout out to Gabriel Hughes. He's been such a great pickup for us so far this regular season. And then Victor Vodnik and Edgardo Hernandez both have been filling in nicely, getting us almost 78 innings pitched combined, and they are keeping the ERA down and helping prevent runs. Felix Bautista, our closer, has been having a rough season. It's mostly just the fact that he's giving up a lot more home runs than he's usually doing. He's still being successful, but he has blown 6 saves, so our record could be way better than 50 and 39. Brooks Raley's been picking up the slack in some places. I'm glad we did not trade him at this point. But at the same time, I'm still expecting to see Felix Bautista do a pretty good job, and the bullpen's been just phenomenal so far this season. I'm still expecting Shane Bieber to bounce back from a rough start because of that injury. He's been kind of playing catch-up all season at this point. He's now up to 13 starts. He's still expected to have a 2.2 WAR season for only 24 games started, so probably would have a 3 WAR season if we didn't have the injury. We are trying to kind of hold him back, though, at this point. He had managed to get the ERA down to almost into the 4 range before he hit the game against San Diego. He did just get a finger blister, so we're hopefully going to be able to recover from that pretty quickly. But his ratings are going down a little bit, but I'd still be more than happy to pay $25 million for this. If it's somebody who can come in and eat up, hopefully with a lack of an injury next season, maybe he can give us 180 innings and just give us a good veteran presence at the top of that rotation. That is worth it to me, in my opinion. That just gives me one less pitcher to have to worry about just, having to demote or trade or do something with. So we're still very happy to have Shane Bieber here on the team. I'm just kind of sad that we don't have him and Sonny Gray both playing at the same time. That was the objective. The objective was to have both of them playing at the same time and seeing how good of a rotation they would make us look like having. So let's move on to the hitting then, shall we? It has been a phenomenal season for a couple different batters, and mostly it's been Amador. And who would have seen that coming? Ariel Amador has been absolutely phenomenal at third base. He's actually been playing, I think, the entire season at third. He played a little bit at second base, but he's been basically our third baseman for the season so far. He is currently having just a phenomenal season, batting .331 of a 3.5 WAR season. He has 10 homers so far, 26 stolen bases. So he's looking for he's looking for technically a 40-20-40 season if you count doubles, homers, and stolen bases, while also batting above .330, which would be miraculous. That'd be a 6.5 WAR season is what he's estimated to get at this stage. So it has been a career year for Amador at this point, even though it's only his third full season in the big leagues, but it's still such a turnaround from his 2025 season where he had a negative 1.3 WAR, and now he's looking at an almost 6 WAR, which is basically that's almost MVP caliber at this point for Ariel Amador. So great season for him. He's been great. Tovar continues to be a really good pickup at this point. Not a pickup, but a good dominant shortstop at this point. We've been telling our players they can start to steal more at this point, and you can see that in our numbers. Tovar is expected to have 35 stolen bases, have a 5.9 WAR season. He's only batting with a 110 OPS plus, which is a 297 batting average. So we're hoping that maybe the batting average can come back up a little bit more, get back closer to that 339 he had back in 2025. If we can duplicate that season, I'd be very, very happy. But he does have 11 home runs, 27 RBIs, so he's looking for a 50-20 season, 50-20-30 season if you count stolen bases as well, and that would be phenomenal for a shortstop. That would be close enough to MVP caliber that I'd be pushing for that as well. Of course, we got to talk about Charlie. Charlie's had a phenomenal rookie season. He has 26 home runs already, 22 doubles. He's got 74 RBIs already. He's got a 301 batting average, a 139 OPS plus, 2.7 WAR. He was doing better at the beginning of the season, actually. I know that sounds hard to believe, but his splits. His April, he was batting .327 with 8 home runs. May, he had 11 home runs and a .305 batting average. The first 2 months of the season, he had 19 home runs. He was on pace for like 60. And he had a 2.4 WAR season in the first 2 months of the year. He's had a 0.3 WAR season the rest of the way, almost 2 months now. So he's definitely cooled off a ton. But we are still expecting to see a whole lot more from Charlie Condon moving forwards. He is still going to be a MVP caliber player, really good first baseman, really good hitter, and just an RBI machine. And when you put him right behind people like Amador and Tovar and technically even Sterling Thompson, who's had a pretty good season. Batting only .269, but he has a 101 OPS plus and a 1 WAR season so far. 11 stolen bases to boot for a 22 double, 10 home run season. He's looking to get double digits in doubles, triples, and home runs this year. It would be a good quality season for him. And then, of course, Drew Romo. I'm not going to call it a resurgency season yet, but he's just continuing to provide us with really good catching ability. He's such a good captain on this squad, and if he could ever figure out how to hit 300, he'd be the best catcher in baseball. That would be my opinion about that. But still a good season for Romo, even if it's not going to be what I was really hoping he'd be able to do, which was basically continue on from last year's developments. He seems to be having a little more power this year, but just don't really see a whole lot of that batting average coming up, unfortunately. So the BABIP's just not quite there in certain circumstances for Romo. Otherwise, the only person who's really been not doing well is Yanquiel Fernandez. Now it's because he was injured for most of the regular season. He's just now come back for about a month and a half, and he's technically not doing that great. He's got 5 home runs, 7 doubles, 3 triples somehow for Yanquiel. We're still playing him in right field at the moment. If he really starts to have a problem because of that injury he suffered at the beginning of the regular season, we may have to think about a different right fielder moving down the road. But hopefully that power comes back and we can start to see another 30 homer season caliber type thing from Yanquiel. Him and Condon being able to do, 30 plus homers in a season is such a good double duo for us. We really want to see that come through, and hopefully we can be able to get that. Otherwise, we've had a lot of good development from other people across our entire league and across our entire development system. Let's talk a little bit about that. So no development wouldn't be worth talking about if it didn't include our top prospect, Larry Kunkel. Larry Kunkel started out the season in the rookie ball system, did 5 starts there, was doing okay, and the AI decided to bring him up to single A. I do not know why, but the results speak for themselves. Larry Kunkel has done 11 starts in single A. He has a 1.90 ERA. He's only got 61 innings under his belt for these starts, so he's only going about 5 or 6 innings per start is what it feels like. But he has been absolutely phenomenal in single A. He's only 1-2 on the record, but that 0.99 whip and a 183 ERA plus means that he is absolutely destroying batters in single A at this point. Now, we did get a message that his stamina has gone down to 43, and we're going to have to work on that in the offseason because that is not going to do for a starter at this point. So hopefully we can develop that back. I believe we've changed his development to try to push, more stamina at this point because that was a bad sign. But we're going to have to stretch him back out and see if we can make him back into a longer inning starting pitcher because 43 that's almost not enough for a starting pitcher at this point. And I don't want to get our first overall pick from last year turned into a closer before I have a chance to even see him start. So, I mean, we've seen a little bit now, but really don't want him to become a closer, okay? That's just not what we want from him, unfortunately. Otherwise, Dominguez is having an okay season so far down in the rookie ball season. He has been suspended, unfortunately. We're still waiting for him to start playing again. He's down to, again, 4 stars for his potential, but he's now 2.5 stars on that development, so he's making good progress. He's kind of alongside Kunkel, where they're almost about to be into the A systems pretty soon here. I think if Dominguez has another couple of starts, he might get called up to single A, and he might be able to start pitching alongside Kunkel and some of the other kids who are developing at this point. Cancel, unfortunately, tore his meniscus, his knee. So, unfortunately, we got 1 start out of him before he had to go down for another injury. He's got about 2 to 3 months before he's back from that. It's going to be, unfortunately, another lost season for Cancel. This one might be a lost cause at this point. He might become a 3-star starting pitcher after he comes back from this injury. And I just don't know when he starts to become fragile now that he's had back-to-back seasons that have been just destroyed by month-long injuries at this point. So prayers and hopes for Cancel that he develops better into the upcoming nearby future at this point. I guess on the good news, outside of the injury to Rada, Nelson Rada's been having a fantastic season in AAA, playing as our, I believe, center fielder for AAA. The 5'10" center fielder batting left-handed has 15 stolen bases, has got 8 home runs, 6 triples, and 17 doubles in only 69 games. 66 of them started. He had a 3 WAR season so far in AAA, so he'll probably be coming back here pretty soon from his fractured wrist, and then hopefully he can get a little bit more of this developed on his power and maybe round out his outfield ability. And then this is somebody I would not mind going to play right field instead of Yanquiel Fernandez maybe next season, or potentially in left field if we really don't want to continue on with Benny Montgomery. Otherwise, we did have a really good season brewing as well for Ben Jacobs. I know the ERA doesn't quite look it, but the 1.3 WAR in AAA in Albuquerque is phenomenal. This is a really good development for Ben Jacobs. He's become one of our top developing prospects so far this season. He could be somebody that might be in the majors next year and actually competing for a rotation spot, basically. This would be better. I don't want to see him replacing Sonny Gray. Our hope is that we can sign Sonny Gray to another year extension for like $14 million just make it really cheap, something that might be able to just have him continue to pair up with Bieber, have a season with them both playing together, and just try to get them both on the field at the same time as each other. Otherwise, Jared Thomas having a great season in AAA as well. Two outfielders we actually have that are doing really well in AAA. Thomas had a really good season in AA. He is still kind of learning AAA right now, but his double-A season was going really, really well. 13 homers in double-A in only 37 games started. Absolutely driving the ball out of the field. Not quite much on that gap power, but he's been doing really well. I keep getting emails about how he's having, games of the day and then a player of the week or something here and there. So he's been doing really well. And it shows. Our AAA is over 500. Every single team is over 500 except for the DSL2 team, which is probably because they have roster problems, I'm going to guess. Yes, they have more roster problems that I somehow did not remember to fix. So, outside of our second DSL team, everybody else is doing fairly well. I do expect to see probably some playoffs from the single A plus or A plus teams, Spokane. I probably would expect to see playoffs from the Hartford Yard Goats at this point. Maybe the Grizzlies pop in for another playoff chance there, but the ACL Rockies definitely are going to be looking for playoffs as well. And then, of course, we're going to be looking for playoffs. So let's go ahead and talk about ourselves for just a second here as we look forward to the next couple of months. So we sit half a game ahead of the Arizona Diamondbacks. We've taken a little bit of a fall. We are now 2-8 in our last 10 games. The D-backs are on a 5-game winning streak. I was not expecting to be in first place by this point, and I'm not expecting to be in first place by the end of the regular season. So we're in a really good spot where it's going well. Nothing seems to be really hurting us too badly. We are still expecting to see some of our starting pitching come back here pretty soon. We have a lot of people in AAA who could be called up if we needed more depth. The team is really in a good spot, and there really isn't any reason why we should not get to the playoffs this year unless we just basically take ourselves out of the playoffs ourselves. So, with that being said, everybody, I do expect to see you all in the next episode, to be episode 9. I have to keep remembering what number it's going to be, but episode 9 should have us in the playoffs. I'll let you guys know if we do any trades before playoffs. So I'll do a video before playoffs if we do trades and if we do a lot of massive changes. I'll let you know what we decided to do. And then hopefully we'll have a little pre-playoff video and then a post-playoff video for all of you out there if we can reach the playoffs at this point. Also, I did just notice that Chris Bryant for Kansas City is having an actually really good season. He's on pace to actually finally look like Chris Bryant. That's kind of sad, but also, I guess, good for him. Good for him, I guess. Otherwise, I will see you all in the next video.